To understand continuity, again, we will observe the facts in front of us. In front of us, just pay attention, and there is continuity. No one can disprove you that there is no continuity or there is discontinuity. So let's go through the journey of observation, right? Okay. So let's take an example of ice that we are all familiar with. So ice is the solid form of the water, the object called water. Okay. So solid is a form that we experience through what? Experience by our sense organs, organ of senses, the vision, organ of vision, smell, touch, taste, and sound, hearing. So those are the specific observations that we can perceive. But since the perceptions or the diversity is there, multiple sense perceptions are there for only one single category, let's say the organ of vision. It is mainly for observing color, right? But there is diverse color. If you see the whole panorama of the universe, there is colors and colors and colors, right? But we always overlook the continuity between the color. So what's continuity in terms of color? So let's say this single line that I just draw, or the term energy. So this yellow portion, where that is ending, the black background is starting immediately. So is there any gap between the black and the yellow? Or is there any gap between the white or the bluish white of continuity and the black? No, right? There is no gap. There is no denial of that. If there is no gap, that means all the colors are connected. If they are connected, that means there is a whole continuity, and continuity cannot exist between different things. The whole continuity can be applicable only for unity. Make that very, very clear. Okay. So I mean, that's only one thing that we just discussed in terms of color. It's continuous. No color is different than the other color. Even all the colors are not discontinued from the black color. That is no color at all. So all colors are connected with each other. All colors are connected with no color. That is the black that we objectify as black. So there is throughout continuity in terms of color. In the same way, for touch, taste, smell, for all of them there is continuity. For example, let's say I'm listening to some music, then someone shouted at me, then maybe something else screamed. So all those are discrete sound events, right? They are different. But we always forget the silence between two noise or two sound perceptions, right? That silence is like the black color here. So the silence is connected with the noise. Silence is a form of sound. No denial of that. If it is continuous, the silence and the sound, if they are continuous, you cannot say they are different. Why they are different? Because silence is coming after the sound ends and sound beginning from the silence, right? Plain and simple, no denial. You came to the right place. Okay, so in terms of organ of hearing also, we saw that there is continuity like that for all the sense organs. There is continuity and continuity, but we are not we forgot that we are capable of understanding the continuity, so we don't pay attention to the act of observing. We are in our own world of enjoyment and believing and all those things. That's okay. We need to believe some concepts, some ideas, some languages, because all of the beliefs are our creation, right? Without our creation, how we will work in our day-to-day life? But just understand that they are all our creations or our projections, because we cannot, in absolute sense, we cannot create anything, because we cannot create anything new from solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and space. These are the five objects. The permutation and combination is producing something else. We think something else, but it's not something else, because there is continuity. So this misunderstanding is always with us, that we are creating something new, and whatever we are thinking that we are creating, we give it a name, a concept, and explanations. How? Because of superimposition. That is the process of projecting meaning to an action that we think we are doing. We will go through those also. So there is continuity. Okay, let's come to the example that we are discussing. So from solid ice, if we provide little bit of energy, it will start melting. It will go to the liquid, then it will go to the gas. I mean, this picture is not accurate, so I'm just trying to highlight how the vapor of the water will be. So it won't have any color in the true sense, but just to make it visible. So the gaseous form of water is not visible to our organ of vision. So now, if you further increase the energy, it will form the plasma state. So now this is very interesting thing. So plasma state, and the color of the plasma state we are perceiving, and we are objectifying it as plasma or fire. So what is happening in both these phenomena, when we are burning something, the process of combustion, it will create something that we call as energy, and that energy is gonna interact with the chemical species. Let's say when we are burning wood, or we are burning any paper, then we all know that they have carbon, right? So the so the carbon is remaining as cellulose form, the polymer of the glucose, because the glucose is stored as cellulose or different forms of polymer. The carbohydrate chemistry, if you go through a little bit. So those are macromolecules. Lignin, all those macromolecules are there. The carbon is staying there with hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, other. These are the main elements that it is staying there. So when we start burning them, what is the burning procedure? Burning procedure or process, as we explained it, is when you have oxygen and you have something that can react with oxygen, the triggering event will produce the reaction, and that reaction will produce carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, water, etc. Everything will be oxidized by reacting with oxygen, right? In the meanwhile, there will be increase in the energy, because this process will be exothermic. These are all explanations, but they are helpful to understand how we are explaining things. So in the meanwhile, there will be intense energy, and that intense energy is gonna break apart. Let's say we have CN, HN, ON. I'm just roughly drawing the formula, and you have nitrogen N. N can be any number. This is a polymer. So when there is intense energy, E equals to energy, just to denote, that carbon will be breaking apart from the rest of the species, and it will be in the atomic form. Then the hydrogen will be in the atomic form, the oxygen will be in the atomic form, the nitrogen will be in the atomic form, and they will absorb the energy, the excess energy. We are calling it as energy, we don't know what it is, but to explain this action, they are helpful, right? So they will absorb the energy. Let's say the carbon will absorb the energy. This is the atomic state of carbon. Then the electrons, which are in the electronic orbitals of the element, they will accept the energy. Then they will be raised in energy and go to the higher level of orbital of the electron, and then again they will come back, and this is a constant process, going up, coming back, going up, coming, and this is the plasma state, the disturbance of the very constituent of the atom, that is the electron, proton, neutron. So the nucleus part is remaining and the electron is getting disturbed. Make it very, very clear, very simple and interesting. Science is the most interesting thing to know who we are. Anyway, so that process is creating the color according to us. The explanation is given by us. That's the process of having color. Now, if you look carefully, this absorbing energy going up, coming down, going up, coming down, it is happening for all the color that we see in our hand, in any object. What is the difference? The difference is in plasma, everything is in atomic form, but for all others, it is in the molecular form. So in case of solid ice, we see the white color, or for example, in case of any, so let's consider this yellow color of the screen that you are seeing, or the white color. How this color is forming? Because there is the liquid crystals in the LCD, right? And they are absorbing in a particular energy and they are emitting a particular energy. But they are not combusting like the fire. Otherwise, the screen will melt and destroying, right? But the event is happening in the molecular level. So molecules are lower in energy than the atoms. Any going up, coming down phenomena, excitement and then relaxation, is okay for molecular level, but it's not okay for atomic level. Everything will be ruptured. That's what is happening in the fire. That is what is happening in the sun, on the surface of the sun. Okay, so this is the plasma state, the color. So the very basis of the explanation is it's absorbing energy and then going up, then coming down, going up, coming down. But the constant supply of energy has to be there. Otherwise, the fire will stop burning. The color will fade away if there is no energy. You see? So there is a constant supply of something that we call as energy. And it is interacting with something that we call as object. And it is perceived by something that is called as consciousness. You see the magic of this? Okay, so let's go to the next state, that is the space. So when we provide sufficient energy, these atoms will break into the constituent subatomic particles, electrons, protons, neutrons. uh, and if you provide even more energy, then they will also disintegrate, right, into their constituent particles, like anything that you can name off. So like that, there will be a point when we won't be able to observe the the actions through our sense organs or through the instruments that we developed, right? So there will be a point when the energy will be so much that it will destroy the instruments, or it will destroy everything until only energy remains. Energy is there. I mean, the thing what we call call as energy, it will be there, but the actions will be ceased because the very act will be destroyed by the excess of that which is energy or something else, we don't know. But we are giving it a name as energy. And then comes the state which we call as space, which is full of something that we call as energy. It is infinite, unknowable. Sometimes we call it as energy, sometimes we call it as object, right? How? Because if you just compare the numerical system, we all know that from 1 to 9, we 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 know that 1 means for one object, 2 means for two, like that. But 0 means there is no object, but 0 is still an object. Exactly like that. Space doesn't possess any action. It's all that which is unknowable. You can call it energy, you can call it object, you can call it consciousness, whatever, because there is no presence of three unknowables at the same time. It's only one, but that's more advanced state of understanding or observing. There is no belief. There is no belief. Okay. So space is an object, like 0 is a numerical, right? And another thing to understand that space means absolute zero. I mean, the temperature of the space is zero. That is observed by the observations, right? So what does the temperature zero means or absolute zero means? When we are able to perceive the temperature, when there is any action, right? If there is any action, there will be observation. And absolute zero means we are unable, or even when there is no way of observing the energy, the thermal energy, that state should be called as absolute zero, right? And that means absolute absence of any action. And that means absolute calmness, a state where there is no action, no disturbance. Because we observe that there is diverse different colors, different perceptions, difference this, difference that, although they are continuous in the observation level, but still we are observing that. But in space there is nothing to observe, but that is full of an infinite thing which is unknowable. And that's the absolute calmness that we are objectifying as absolute zero, because we have nothing to monitor, to nothing to observe. I mean, no thermal energy to observe, right? That's the interesting observation about space. And these are all facts. And these color, sound, touch, taste, and smell, these are the five constituents or five principal aspects that are present throughout the universe. There is no gap between any of them. There is no gap in between all of them. I mean, all the different colors are interconnected, all the sounds are interconnected, all the touch interconnected. The color and sound is interconnected, sound and touch is interconnected, everything is interconnected. When you are observing an action, the sound, touch, smell, taste, all five you are observing at the same time. But still we are objectifying one as sound, one as taste, touch, smell, etc., right? That's another thing to observe. Now look very carefully. All these transformations are possible. That means they has to be connected with each other, right? Without connection, there won't be any transition from solid to liquid, from liquid to gas, from gas to plasma, and from plasma to space, right? Without this connection, there won't be any transformation or change, whatever you call it. So, from observation, we are seeing that they are changing. That means they are connected. Without the connection, there won't be any movement or any transition from one state to another. And that means they are connected, right? Without the connection, there won't be any transition. And that means they are identical. Otherwise, there will be no connection. Connection only exists for one thing to other. There will be discontinuity if the two things are different, right? If solid is different than liquid, then solid will remain as solid for eternity and liquid will remain as liquid for eternity. There won't be any interaction. The interaction happens because there is connection, and connection only exists between similar items, or in other words, there is no different items or different objects at all. This illusion of different, or this illusion of change, that solid is changing to liquid, liquid is changing to gas, these are all misinterpretation. So there is no change at all. You see, the discussion is like that, the observation is like that. If there is any change is happening from solid to liquid, or liquid to gas, or gas to plasma, or plasma to space, this whole series of change will only be possible if they are interconnected. If there is no connection, there won't be any change, just like drawing a straight line. Now, if there is connection, that means there is continuity, or in other words, the two states, like the solid or liquid, they are not two at all, it's one, because there is connection. If connection is there, the two states are not two states, they are one. And that means the explanation that we are projecting, that this is a change of state from solid to liquid, is wrong. It has to be wrong, otherwise there won't be the process taking place from solid to liquid. But that's not, but it's taking place. That means they are same, they are identical. There is throughout continuity in the whole existence, but we projected our explanations through objectifications, right? So that's a very important thing to understand, that without continuity there won't be any change from one state to another. And that means there is no change at all. What is happening, we don't know. We are explaining it as a change. You see the beauty and magic of this? Self knowledge is the only thing that can give you ultimate surprise, and we are all looking for surprise. Surprise in a good way, not in a bad way. That will give you infinite joy of knowing yourself. Uh, the journey of knowing yourself, or myself, whatever. So let's go to the next slide. So there is another way of looking at what continuity is. So we see that there is physical and chemical interactions, right? For example, I am heating the water to make tea, and the heat is getting transferred, right? From the plasma state, that I'm burning the fuel, the propane, let's say. So the propane is burning, producing the heat that is causing the plasma state producing blue color, and that energy is transferred to the pot that is filled with water to warm the water. So this transfer of something is happening. I mean, there is a transfer happening, that means there is connection. If there is no connection, the transfer will not take place. The transfer of heat we are calling. And that is absolute evident in front of us that there is continuity. Without continuity, this transfer won't take place. So the concept that this is the fuel, this is the fire, this is the pan, this is the water, these are all concepts. I'm just trying to show you how to observe. If you just pay attention, this is it. So they has to be interconnected, otherwise there will be no transfer of something. We're transferring the heat from some place to other place, and that transfer will not take place if these two places are not connected. And if they're connected, they're identical. This is the whole illusion of discontinuity. Okay, so physical, in terms of physical interactions, we understood. Uh, I mean, this is applicable for anything. I'm just giving one example. You try to understand or try to observe for other phenomena that you are observing. Like when you are lying down on the roof of the top of the roof and watching the sky at the night, you see the stars, right? Whenever you see the star instantly visible. It's not taking light years to for seeing, right? The moment you see like this, the star is there. So if there is no connection, how the hell you are gonna observe it? And how the connection is happening? Try to figure out by your own. I mean, use your most sophisticated instrument that you have, the evolution, the product of evolution, right? Use that. Without using it, it is impossible to reveal the true nature of yourself. If you take all the examples from someone else's, all the explanations, all the observations as a second-hand fact, then it will be impossible for you to. You should explore by yourself. So take this one example and try to apply that act of observation for all other phenomena that you are seeing, and enjoy the the observation act. Okay, so the other example is the chemical interactions. So the mixing of sugar in water is not a chemical interaction. It can be called as physical interaction, because you can still separate the sugar from the water. But just try to understand, the sugar was in solid form and water was in liquid form. So solid and liquid can interact with each other, right? Can mix with each other to form a state which is also liquid. So solid is interacting with liquid, producing a state which is solid. A solid chemical can interact with something and then it produce a new chemical which is either solid or liquid or gas, you see. So anything that is going from one state to another via chemical interactions or physical interactions, those two states has to be connected. Otherwise, there won't be any transition from one state to another through physical or chemical process. That means those two states are identical, and this connection or this identical event is called the continuity. And without continuity, there won't be actions that we see like this sugar in water or any chemical reactions. So the very concept of transformation or change is projected by us because of different sense perceptions. We think they are different, but we never pay attention that they are all interconnected. Whenever one sense perception is stopping, the other is starting. There is no gap. If there is no gap, there is whole the whole existence is is connected with each other, and that's the state of continuity. This is a fact. Just see it. Okay. So this is another way to look at what continuity is. And then Another way to look at the continuity is the birth, the growth, and then death. This is happening for all the objects, right? The birth and death, beginning and end, beginning and end. So for example, I took birth from my parents. I am right now, my body is growing. After some time it will then start decaying, and then I will be converted into something else. That this state is called the death, this is called birth. In between is growth or preservation, whatever you can say. So this section, we think that in between I am existing, right? Or we think that in between everything exists, but we never we never look at this birth is also taken from something else, and this death will be conversion of something else, right, to something else. So there is also continuity. It's not like all of a sudden you pop out of existence and then you will you came into existence and then you will pop out of existence, right? It's not like that. So there is a continuity, and that we need to understand. Anything that we perceive as an object, it's not fixed, it's always changing to something else. And if that changing is happening, that means it's not a change at all, it's an illusion. You see, birth and death, we say or we explain his birth and death based on what? Based on a body shape. We think that it is staying there for few years, but it's not staying there, it's constantly changing. And if it is changing, there is no change at all. The concept of change is introduced by us. Why there is no change at all? Because these states has to be connected, otherwise there will be no change. So if they are connected, that means they are identical. If they are identical, then there is no change at all. So why the illusion of this change is there? The illusion of this discontinuity is mainly because of the body identity of us. We think that this is our body. So if we look at this diagram, we think that this is our body, and we always have this superimposed three dimension in our head or in our mind, that this is me at the center of this whole existence, and based on me I will decide this object here. So this object is locating at this coordinate, this object is located at this coordinate, this is in different coordinates, so they are different. Because the very root of this ignorance is that I am thinking myself at the very center of this universe, or of this three dimension, whatever. This is also superimposed to this three dimension. There is no three dimension. This three dimension is inside our head, right? So because of this body identity, we think that everything is placed differently, and we are not when we are seeing any process. Let's say this object took birth from this place and it is going to that place. This is evident, there is connection, but we don't see that we are also connected to that. We see that I am different, something I am different, and there is a process is taking place, changing from A to B. That A to B is continuous, but I am not connected to them. That's the main problem of the illusion. Okay, so everything is connected here, and once you see it as a fact, this is a fact, because we are breathing, we are eating, we are having the sunlight, our whole body is dependent on the surroundings. It will be impossible to live for a moment without the support of them, right? So we are connected. There is no way you can deny it. And we forget that, and that's the main reason we have still have the illusion of discontinuity. Even we see that there is birth, growth, death for all the objects, but deep inside we think that I am separate, and those all processes are separate. So let's have a discontinuity all the time. No, that's not the case. You are also connected to that thing. Okay, we will go much deeper and deeper and deeper. The discussions will be evolved each day, right? This is a process of evolution. I mean, right now maybe I'm not that much capable of interacting with you. Slowly this interaction will be better and better. Let's see how it goes. So something else is converted into something else, and we are giving a shape with a name. This something else have a shape and name. This something else has a shape and name, and it will be converted into something else. So this is all game of different shapes and names, right? So there is absolute continuity, no denial of that.